recorded. So I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna stop the so you just want to make sure that you're on that, not this one, but go to the one that
right
talks
now
about
someone enters will hear our
no, it's
voices?
just that it's just that when we do the recording, we're going to have to edit out all the front. So keep going to get to the slide where you have your table of contents.
Here, this one.
The next one, please.
The next one. Okay.
So you're going to have yours ready to go right there, and as soon as I'm going to take it back as the presenter again, and then I'm going to give it back to you. So we are ready to have Zuli go ahead and get us started on this webinar. I'll say something like that, and then if you could just as fast as you can get the next slide up. Okay. There you go. And then we're all set. Okay. So literally, you'll present away when we get to the polls. I will go ahead and run the polls, and we're good to go.
Okay. Well, Linda, we only will show one poll. One poll.
I have all three of them. I mean, I put them in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, and I'm going to take the screen sharing back. And move on to, I'm just going to put up our rotating slides, and they just kind of rotate for the next 20 minutes until it's ready to go.
Okay.
So if you could come back, yeah, if you could come back, I'm going to go ahead and stop. Welcome to I-Corps' December webinar. We are delighted to be able to add a new webinar today, or this month. Normally we don't have a webinar in December, but we were very happy to have iTeam join us. So today we're going to be talking about cyber resilience as being this shield for cyberspace, and it is being led by iTeam, our training partners from Columbia. It also is somewhat, sadly, not really ironic, but it is a sad state here in the United States that we have just been told that we have been hacked quite liberally recently. So it is a good topic for us today, as it is every day. The objective of our webinar today is to share relevant information about cyber resilience management and how it integrates with other practices that enhance organizational resilience, such as business continuity, security, and enterprise risk management, and so on. Just as a reminder, the recording of the webinar will be available on the I-Corps webinar page probably Monday, just because today's Friday. So we normally have our webinars on Wednesday, but with this one being on Friday, it'll probably be up Monday or Tuesday. Also, as a reminder, if you have questions, please use the questions button. The questions will be answered during the webinar. We'll have a time for question asking, so that you can put your questions in anytime. And if we can't get to them all, we will send out answers in an email after the webinar. You also will receive a certificate of attendance if you attend a minimum of 35 minutes. So I'd like to give a warm welcome today to Zuli Escalona Silva. She is a systems engineer with a Master in Quality Systems. She's certified lead implementer with ISO 22301, 27001, and ITIL. She's also an ABCP. She has a diplomat in information security and about 14 years of experience. With iTeam, she has participated for 3 consecutive years in the PCI DSS certification. And I guess if you're in cyber information security, that I know it has something to do with security when you do your payments, but that's probably all I know. Transactional intermediation with a company. She also has done projects for the implementation of good cybersecurity and information security practices for the financial sector. And she's developed methodologies for the evaluation of maturity in cybersecurity, information security, and for the implementation of your information security management system. So with this warm welcome, we are happy to have Zuli with us today. And I'll hand the controls over to her so that she can share her slides.
Thank you, Linda. Hi, everybody. Today we are going to talk about what is the cyber resilience and why it's important to manage for organizations. We also see a little about what it's cyber threat management and the incident management processes, as well as disaster recovery plans and crisis management in organizations. But first, we have a poll that we want to share with you. Please answer the questions and help us to know more about yours. Okay. Okay.
We'll leave this open for about 10 more seconds. We don't leave them open too long. So go ahead and do your voting. Looks like right now we have, I'm going to give it 3 more seconds. So 3, 2, and 1. So let me go ahead and share that. It looks like we have about 67% of the people here today have some responsibility for business continuity, as well as 33% responsible for managing risk. And then we have a smaller group, 13% responsible for cyber and information security. So it looks to me like your audience is looking for some information on how they can become better at cyber and information security management. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that poll, and you can go ahead and continue.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Well, and then what is cyber resilience? What is cyber resilience? We heard that word many times. And when we talk about cyber resilience, it refers to the combination of several practices that organizations applied without an integration in some cases or sometimes, but the increase in dependence on information technology and consequently the increase in digital threats makes it necessary that the company maintains its operations against some type of computer attacks or cybersecurity attacks, protecting not only its income but also its corporate image, right? Okay. Then the World Economic Forum, it's a non-profit foundation based on Geneva, and it's especially known for its annual assembly in Davos, where top international business and political leaders meet, and in the report of this year, it recognized cyber attacks among the top 10 risks. And that's the reason why cyber resilience it's important, because the cyber security it's important for the economics and in the world and organizations too. For those people and who's responsible of cybersecurity have many challenges that to attend, to keep in mind. For example, now the more than 50% of people in the world have access to internet, have social networks, and that's more probability to suffer a cyber attack. The increasing connectivities, for example, or the new technologies such as 5G represent new threats. And for example, or another example that we have during the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, with the increase in remote work, there was also a 19% increase in ransomware attacks. of course, these attacks will always target to critical technology that it's often updated in sometimes and coupled with the lack of cybersecurity training, it's a combination of factors that maybe the people who's responsible of cybersecurity keep in mind. Well, cyber resilience begins with attack prevention, and that's why important to know the cyber threat identification processes. This is a structured process that consults with different sources to identify where, for example, or provide information about cyber threats and their trends, right? These processes, or this process, considers sources such as social networks, forums and blogs, and for example, dark web, news, interest groups, among others, many others, in order to analyze the information they provide using a method and generates knowledge and separates known threats and unknown threats as a main output. The first one, the known threats, generates usually action plans to reinforce existence cybersecurity controls, such as improvement in the incident management plan, or, for example, in your firewall rules. And unknown threats are reviewed by the organizational risk management processes. So they evaluate these unknown threats and give to the senior management and information about what they have to do with those threats. The first stage in this processes is the planning. The planning, you must to think about what is your scope and what is the different sources of information that you will consult, and define the responsibilities and the roles and what is your expected to your result that you will find at the end of the process. It also establishes the analysis method, the expected results, and define the frequency of generation of the reports according to the organization's capability. It may be an organizational decision sometimes to outsource this process to cyber intelligence service offered by providers or third parties. The second phase, or the second stage, is the data collection. In this stage, the raw information is obtained, its attributes, and established, and an organized registry and repository is maintained that allows to be consulted in the future. That's important because cyber attackers sometimes reuse attack methods, attack vectors, and targets. And historical information can be useful to identify previous patterns. And I think the keywords in this stage is a registry and repository. The next phase is the information analyst, data analyst. And this phase the information you apply, or the organizations apply techniques such as infographics or any other to generate knowledge that allows the organizations to make the appropriate decision regarding to the treatment of the threat. Yes, and you can say, or in short, you can say the data converts to information and then knowledge. Okay, in this, at the end of this process, the analysis of information should generate two main outputs. The first one offers information on known threats that, by assessing the controls already applied in the organizations, will determine if they should be reinforced, for example. And the second offers information on unknown threats that could have a great impact on the organization, although their probability is very small, because some like the pandemic, right? An example of the latter is deepfake, which consists of presentation of information that can harm your organization using artificial intelligence or deep learning to generate an animation of a relevant public figure. And this animation could give wrong information and harm your entity. Okay. The last stage is the determination of results. The information generated is a result of our research and analysis, should generate lessons learned in those responsible for cybersecurity management and in the users that are considered in an annual training plan, maybe. The intention of this stage is to align the team to strengthening the controls or development of new one, or preventive preparation of users, maybe in a capacity in an annual training plan. But in short, we want to call to action to move the teams to the actions and do something with the information that we have. However, when the prevention phase is not enough, an incident materializes, and it's important to have an incident management plan. Well, we are going to share you again another pool. So help us to answer.
And I think there was actually a question, maybe Norman could share while we're doing this, that had a question to do about the business sector, and maybe which ones are getting hit the hardest. Do you have that question, Norman?
Yes. The question is, what are the most common threats for a vital service companies? What we will say, Sully, that are the most common threats right now?
Oh, I think that financial is.
All right, we're going to give 3 more seconds, and then we'll go ahead and close the poll. And it actually is really interesting that we have kind of an even split today between finance, insurance, and your IT and communication side of it, with the other ones being kind of spread out. So that is interesting. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and hide that poll, and you can continue.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Okay, well, we are talking about incident management. And it's a big truth that our organizations can be victims of cyber attacks. That's a reality, and that is why it's important to have a strong incident management procedures aligned across the organization. These procedures defines the responsibilities and procedures and activities, and enable the communication of information security, weakness, and events with all the audiences, define all the audience, and facilitates the quantification of impacts, maybe qualitative or in amount, allows legal, civil, or criminal response against those responsible, if, of course, if there is adequate handling of digital evidence and computer forensic procedures. It also allows the increase in the maturity information security according to the proper management of the learning generated. Yeah. Okay. So, incident plan management plan usually have this element. For example, omission, or strategies and alternative, and it's important, very important to it must be approved by a senior management who must commit to the provision of resources and the preparation of the communication strategy. That's really important. The definition of the different audience that must be informed, where regulators or clients or suppliers can be included in this audience. Metrics that allow measuring the effectiveness of the response to the incident. Maybe it's important, or it's really important to add a roadmap that allows to increase the maturity of different phases. For example, prevention, identification and detection, or maybe response and closure. That's a very good practice. And you should also consider how this integrates with another incident management procedures, such as IT incident management or continuity incident management. Well, when you have to activate these plans, you must keep in mind two things. Maybe the service restoration and continuity of operations. When you're talking about service restoration, you must think in IT incident management and service level agreements, and of course troubleshooting, because these elements are taken in account, and you have to apply maybe first these elements, and then if you have bigger problems, you have to activate continuity of operations, and maybe your disaster recovery plans, your standard operational procedures, and of course your crisis management plan. Okay, well, when you have to activate, or when you need to create disaster recovery plans, you must keep in mind some of these elements. For example, you have to remember that the most important asset of the organization is information, because it's the thing that is really yours. You can buy servers, you can buy telecommunications items, but the information is yours. That's why it's important to secure your backup policy and define an strategic or that ensures that your backup of critical materials or critical information remains complete. See? During the execution of the recovery plan, the preservation of digital evidence should be considered. Maybe it's important to involve in your team, in your recovery team, some people with these skills. Okay. Well, and how is incident management integrated with continuity management? Well, at the right side, you have the different stages or different phases of security incident plans. You have preparation, detection, eradication, and recovery, and you have the last one of this plan is post-incident phase. Here you have to keep in mind the cybersecurity incident management process is integrated by continuity management through the management of continuity incidents. From this procedure, the criteria to evaluate and decide the relevance of activate and disaster recovery must be developed. Right? And the connection between plans, there is a key role for this integration, and this is the coordinator or the security incident coordinator who will evaluate through the activation criteria if it should be escalated to continuity management and its plans, for example, crisis, communication, business, disaster recovery. Yeah, but this is you need to create this criteria to make decisions. Okay. This graphic illustrates in a suggested timeline how different plans are displayed. In the dark blue part at the top of the graphic, you have the dark blue. You see, or you can see, the different phases of the incident security plans. For example, containment, eradication, and recovery. While the eradication is running, maybe you can activate your IT and incident management. And if you have a loss of technology services, maybe you can activate your manual contingency. I'm sorry, I can't say it, but you can also activate your manual plans to buy or to recover your operations. Okay. And then maybe it's important to activate your disaster recovery plan and your business continuity plan. During this recovery phases, you could or maybe it's necessary to activate your crisis management and communication plans, because you need to share information with the audience and maybe with your clients and government, right? Okay. When you activate your or when you activate your crisis and your communication plans, maybe you need to consider some parties. For example, customers, third parties analyze, providers, employees, the press, and it's very important, the government and authorities. Yeah, this is all the audience you have to keep in mind. Then you need to create a single point of communication. Because for the message you need to give, maybe with the press, you need to use the single point of contact, yeah, because you need to give a message. If you expose data, you must to say what type of data exposed, and you need to give technical details, but and controls that you apply, but not in with too many details, because your attackers could have again an advantage of this information, right? And this message should be or must be practiced and maintain consistency between the different statements that are given in the different audiences, and provide the current status of the incident, what is the more recent information. And it's also important to inform employees that there is a single point of contact, and is not authorized to represent the organization in the media. That's important. Okay.
Julie, we have some questions. And I think we want to answer one.
Yes, at the end of this slide, we have a final question. Okay.
Good.
Okay. For example, if you have to prepare a message, the actors for public communications, you need to prepare this message with the legal advisors and the internal legal unit, who knows how to handle the implication of the event and the statements that you need to give. The corporate communications unit, who prepares the message with an integrated language and following the organizational image, and the senior management, who approve and finally communicate. This all you have to keep in mind to your crisis management plan. Okay, well, Norman, we have a conclusion, and then we are going to share the pool, right?
Okay, and then
Okay.
The question at the end. Okay.
Yes. Okay. As a conclusion, we could say that cyber attacks can happen. It's a reality. The preparation can be proactive with cybersecurity controls, and reactive with the incident management plan. The answer is more than technical. We see that we have to keep in mind the communications on the audiences, and cyber attacks can affect the reputation of the organization, and if it is necessary to prepare, to have to keep in mind, and you need to integrate your incident management across the organization. Okay, Norman, we are ready. The pool.
Now it's the pool.
So since we have so many business continuity people here, we asked the question, what is really your biggest challenge that you see for 2021? Hopefully, we all hope 2021 will be much easier than 2020 has been. We're looking forward to saying goodbye to 2020. But given these four choices, which ones of these do you see as really your biggest challenge in your organization? And we'll give it about 5 more seconds. All right. So of course, incorporating cyber resiliency into continuity management got the biggest results, which you would expect to see. And one of the things I think just to build on what Zulu's been telling us is that, you know, a lot of times we have incident response for each one of our different ways that we manage risk. And we have a different crisis management response for each of those. And so really integrating all of those into one system so that we can see, you know, where does the cyber resilience interact with the business continuity, and where does it interact with your ITDR, and where does it interact with your incident response and crisis management, so that people are brought on board at the right times, like according to that execution of plans that she shared. I have to say I am a little bit disappointed in making the BIA more agile. So I'm going to make that a challenge to anyone in business continuity, is that we have to make sure that our BIA includes not only cyber resilience and information security and those sorts of topics, but that it's done in an agile manner so that we're collecting data all the time. If you think about the fact that, let's say you did a BIA in 2019, and look at what happened in 2020, everything about your company and how it's operated has been impacted in some manner. So a lot of that data is going to be irrelevant. So we need to look at how we can continue to keep our data up to date. So on that, I got off my soapbox, and I'll hand it back over to the iTeam team as they can answer some of your questions.
Okay, thank you, Linda. And one of the questions is related of one of the options of the poll, and it's because they are asking, how do I integrate my incident response plan with business continuity?
Okay, through the criteria to activate these plans, you could integrate both. You need roles and responsibilities and tools to evaluate these criteria and decide to activate those plans. It's okay.
Yes, we have another one. Is do you think the cyber resiliency approach is more about technology, or is about business, or what would you say?
Okay, I think it's too close to IT services and IT management, but the coordination, it's the responsibility of the community management because it has a vision, integrated vision, but the technical knowledge is a very important thing that you need to keep in mind.
Okay. We don't have any more questions. There was another one about if the DRP strategy should be reviewed again among cyber attacks, and well, I already replied that yes, that scenario should be covered by DRP strategy. So we can move on.
All right, can you push the slides forward to the iTeam slide?
Yes.
So if either one of you would like to just share a little bit of information about your company.
Yes, thank you, Linda. For those who don't know our company, iTeam is based in Colombia, but we already have also offices in Panama and Mexico, and we have some projects also in the United States. And we want to thank everybody for coming here to this webinar today. And we are really interested in promote organizational resiliency. That we include, for example, not only business continuity, but crisis management, emergency response, and risk management as the tool to comply with the objectives and other regulations, for example. So we are also working on the GRC concept, the governance, risk management, and compliance. So and that's the focus that we have for our services, and that aim for the to help to have a more resilient world. That's I. Thank you.
Yeah, and don't forget also that you guys are also a training partner of iCourse. And so if anyone on the call is from Colombia or Mexico or Panama area, feel free to contact them for some of the courses that would be offered in Spanish as well. Can you go ahead to the next slide? So I did want to share our webinar series for 2021. We have a theme this year. Normally we don't necessarily do a theme, but we really felt like we needed to capture some of the learnings from 2020 and as we go into 2021 and we try to recover from the pandemic. So we're going to be looking at building resilience during and after a pandemic. So our first topic is starting to look at how you're going to recover. And if your organization hasn't considered how they're going to move forward in all aspects, once we can kind of go back to business as usual, they should be starting that very soon. And also, then we're going to look at how you lead in uncertain times. And I think there's a lot of leadership learnings about what kinds of leadership has worked in a virtual environment and what hasn't, and what leaders have been able to adapt to doing different things. And then we're going to look at this idea of agility. We've talked about agility before, but this looking at rebuilding for speed. And in April and May, we're going to be looking kind of in a combined effort at what does a post-pandemic workforce look like and what does a post-pandemic workplace look like. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of changes all around the world, not just in the real estate market, but in where people want to work and where they feel comfortable working. And maybe we'll find out that everybody's interested in getting back and going back to their, to their desk space where they were before, or maybe we'll find out that there are some people that don't want to do that. By the time we get to June, we really are going to be looking at organizational resilience as a strategy and how you might begin to implement that strategy. And then the rest of the year is going to be looking at elements of that strategy, like capability building. This is a lot about learning programs and training and education, looking at how to be more agile and flexible and across, not just in project management for agility, but in all parts of the organization. The term individual purpose that we're going to talk about in September is really a culture conversation, and looking at how the individual people in your company contribute to how the organization operates, which ties nicely into the October webinar on risk culture and how it ties to operational resilience. So hopefully in that webinar, you'll also get a really clear understanding of the difference between and the relationship between operational and organizational resilience. We've talked a lot in the past about supply chains. We're going to look at value chains and the fact that we are seeing, in fact, there was an article that just came out this week in McKinsey that talks about how the Asia supply chain is totally changing as a result of the pandemic. So understanding how value chains and supply chains contribute and are related to each other. And then a little more about culture. We talk about the individual part of culture. We're talking about risk culture, and we're going to finish up the year with really the whole organizational culture piece. And I hope that you're understanding with some of these topics that how important culture and leadership is to your organization. And just to finish up with the final slide, we do encourage you to follow us. Please, follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you could just switch to the last slide for me. And we will be trying to post this year. We tried to do it this year, and the pandemic did impact us as well. Trying to do a podcast, so we're hoping to do those at least quarterly this coming year. So thank you again. This was recorded, so the recording will be available in a day or two, probably after the weekend. And please sign up for our webinar series for next year. Thank you very much. Thank you, iTeam team.
Thank you, Linda, and we are very glad that you invited us to give this webinar. And thank you, Sully.
You're welcome. You guys, everybody have a nice end of the year and safe farewell to 2020.
Bye.